Imagine it's 6:14 on a Tuesday night. Your rent is due in 9 days. Your checking account looks fine until the transmission light comes on, the grocery bill jumps again, and your insurance autopay hits before you wake up. Suddenly, the number in your account isn't money anymore. It's time. Time until you're short. Time until you start moving bills around. Time until one normal week turns into a financial emergency. That's the moment most people start searching for a side hustle. And that's also the moment most people make the worst possible choice. Because when panic hits, people don't look for the highest return on their time. They look for the fastest distraction. They sign up for apps, do low-paid tasks, chase tiny gigs, and tell themselves they're being productive while quietly locking in $10 hours after gas, setup, messaging, cancellations, and dead time. But here's the real problem. Most people think a side hustle is about making extra money. It's not. It's about building a second line of defense before your first line breaks. If your financial life depends on one paycheck, one employer, one schedule, one good month with no surprise expenses, then you don't really have a budget. You have a countdown. Now, this matters because the pressure is not imaginary. Recent Federal Reserve household data showed 60% of adults said price changes made their finances worse, and 79% said they changed behavior because of it. The same data showed only 63% said they could cover a $400 emergency using cash or its equivalent, and roughly 55% had 3 months of emergency savings set aside. That means a huge chunk of people are one ugly week away from scrambling. And Bankrate found that 36% of US adults already earn money through a side hustle. The average side hustler reported about $891 a month, and more than a third said they use at least some of that money for regular living expenses. Not vacations, not fun money. Bills. Survival. Even more revealing, 32% said they think they'll always need that extra income to make ends meet. So no, this is not a cute productivity trend. This is economic self-defense. That's why I ranked these side hustles by one thing most people ignore: realistic ROI per hour. Not fantasy money, not 6 figures from your laptop. Real-world return after friction, after learning curve, after platform fees, after client chasing, after the hours nobody posts on social media. I looked at 4 filters: how fast you can start, how fast you can get paid, what the realistic hourly ceiling looks like, and whether the work compounds or resets to 0 every time. And once you look at side hustles that way, the ranking gets very different from the usual listicles. Number 8 is selling stuff you already own, then flipping small, underpriced items. This is not the sexiest hustle, but it's one of the cleanest first moves when cash is tight, because the startup cost can be almost 0 if you begin with things you already have. The Federal Reserve's latest household survey said 13% of adults made money by selling things in the gig or resale sector, which tells you this is not some fringe trick. A lot of people are already doing it, because when money gets squeezed, dead inventory starts looking like trapped cash. The reason this makes the list is simple. The first dollars can come fast. You don't need permission, a certification, or a fancy portfolio. You need photos, clear pricing, and the willingness to let go of things you don't use. That matters more than people think, because many side hustles fail before the first dollar. This one doesn't. But the downside is also obvious. Reselling is great for emergency cash, not always great for long-term hourly efficiency, unless you get disciplined. If you're constantly hunting thrift stores for random flips, answering lowball messages, driving across town for $20, and holding inventory in your closet for 3 weeks, your hourly rate collapses fast. And this is where most people get it wrong. They confuse motion with margin. They think because an item sold for a profit, it was worth the time. But if you spent 3 hours sourcing, listing, cleaning, negotiating, and meeting up, that profit can quietly turn into low-wage chaos. The high ROI version is narrower. Sell your own unused items first. Then, only flip items you can understand in 10 seconds. Furniture, small appliances, power tools, popular baby gear, brand name electronics with obvious resale demand. No collectibles you need to research for an hour. No categories with huge scam risk. No inventory that needs storage therapy. Think of this as the bridge hustle. It gets cash moving. It teaches pricing, negotiation, product photos, and buyer psychology. But it usually doesn't become the best long-term play unless you systemize it. Number 7 is dog walking and pet sitting. This hustle looks humble, but the hourly math is better than most people assume, especially if you stack clients geographically. Rover's published national rate says the average dog walker rate is $21.45 for a 30-minute walk. That sounds basic, until you realize 2 important things. First, many people need recurring service, not one-time help. Second, trust creates repeat business fast. That repeat factor is what boosts the ROI. Once a pet owner trusts you, the selling cost drops. You're no longer hunting for the next client every day. And if you batch walks in the same neighborhood, your effective hourly rate can jump because the downtime shrinks. The downside is that this hustle is local, physical, and schedule-bound. If you hate being on a clock, if your city is spread out, or if you live somewhere without dense neighborhoods, the efficiency drops. You also need reliability. Nobody cares that you're building your business if they're stuck at work and their dog is waiting by the door. Still, for beginners, this hustle has an underrated advantage. It doesn't require advanced skill signaling. People are not hiring your resume. They're hiring your trustworthiness. That is a much easier barrier to cross than trying to convince a stranger on the internet to pay you for strategy work. Here's what history shows. When money gets tighter, people cut luxuries before they cut obligations. Pets often fall into the obligation category. Owners may stop ordering extras for themselves before they stop paying for someone to help care for an animal they consider family. That doesn't make pet work recession-proof, but it makes it sturdier than many trendy online hustles. Number 6 is furniture assembly and basic handyman work. This one is brutally unglamorous, which is exactly why it pays. TaskRabbit's furniture assembly pages show rates typically starting around $34 on average, and the company's own material points out that people will pay because they don't want to burn a weekend fighting instructions and stripped screws. TaskRabbit is also the official IKEA assembly partner, which tells you something important about demand. Modern consumers will absolutely outsource frustration. That is the core principle here. High ROI side hustles often live wherever people feel incompetent, impatient, or both. A lot of side hustles compete in crowded want markets. Handyman-style help competes in the "please fix this now" market. That's a better neighborhood to work in. Now, this does have boundaries. You need to know what you're doing. You should stay inside low-risk, non-permitted tasks unless you're properly licensed. Furniture assembly, mounting, minor fixes, basic patching, simple labor. Those are very different from electrical or plumbing work that crosses legal or safety lines. But if you are even moderately competent with tools, the market is bigger than most office workers realize. And this is where a modern example matters. IKEA didn't become a global assembly headache by accident. They became big because millions of people want the result without the process. That is business gold. If a task is common, annoying, and easy to mess up, somebody will pay to remove it from their Saturday. The hidden ROI booster here is referrals. One furniture assembly client often becomes 5 jobs: mounting, shelves, curtain rods, junk removal, small touch-ups, another room, then their neighbor. That network effect is why this beats a lot of app-based hustles. It can evolve from random gigs into a local service loop. Number 5 is online tutoring. Not because everyone loves teaching, but because expertise compresses time better than labor does. Wyzen's tutor marketplace shows that many tutors cluster around roughly $50 to $170 an hour, and specialized test prep tutors can go far higher. The platform also states tutors keep 75% of their posted hourly rate, while Wyzen keeps a 25% platform fee. So yes, there's fee drag, but even after that, the hourly profile can still beat many entry-level side hustles by a mile. The catch is obvious. You need a skill someone wants. Math, science, writing, test prep, language learning, coding, finance basics, admissions support. But don't underestimate how broad the market is. People are not only buying genius, they are buying clarity. They are buying patience. They are buying someone who can explain the same concept without making them feel stupid. That emotional component matters. The best side hustles don't just save time, they reduce stress. A parent paying for tutoring is not just paying for equations or essay structure. They're paying to reduce anxiety inside their home. And unlike purely local hustles, tutoring can travel with you. Your location matters less. Your communication matters more. The stronger your reputation gets, the more you can move away from platforms, fees, and one-off bookings into referrals and repeat sessions. The reason tutoring doesn't rank higher is that it depends on your knowledge base and your energy. If you are fried after your main job, teaching can feel like doing a second mentally demanding shift. But if you already own the knowledge, the setup is light, the margin is strong, and the demand is steady. Number 4 is bookkeeping cleanup for small businesses. This is where the list starts getting boring on the surface and powerful in reality. Upwork's published bookkeeper rates show a median hourly rate around $15, with many listed in the $11 to $25 range. At first glance, that doesn't scream high ROI, which is exactly why most people miss the real opportunity. Because the beginner marketplace rate is not the full story. Bookkeeping becomes high ROI when you stop thinking like an hourly worker and start thinking like a pain remover. Most small businesses do not wake up excited to reconcile transactions, clean categories, chase receipts, or figure out why the books don't match. They avoid it until tax season turns into panic. That panic is valuable. The smart play is not, "I'll be a cheap bookkeeper for everyone." The smart play is, "I will solve one ugly financial mess for one type of business." Clean up 3 months of books for a contractor. Monthly categorization for a solo consultant. invoice follow-up for a local agency, expense cleanup for a real estate operator. Narrow problem, narrow niche, clear outcome. Now this matters because boring work has less ego competition. Everyone wants to be a creator. Fewer people want to be the reason a business owner stops dreading Friday night spreadsheets. That's exactly why the opportunity exists. This hustle ranks above tutoring because once you learn the workflow, the work is more repeatable, less emotionally draining, and more retainer-friendly. You are not starting from zero every week. You are becoming part of a company's operating system. And in a shaky economy, businesses may delay flashy spending, but they still need clean books, clean invoicing, and someone who can make the numbers make sense. Number 3 is general copywriting, especially email, landing page, and website copy for small businesses. Upwork's copywriting jobs page shows copywriters commonly earning around $19 to $45 an hour, and sales copywriters often sit much higher, in the roughly $33 to $80 an hour range. That difference tells you something huge. Words are not paid equally. The closer your writing sits to revenue, the more the market values it. That's the key. Nobody really wants copy. They want booked calls, better conversion, fewer abandoned carts, more replies, better offers, clearer messaging. The writing is just the vehicle. This is one of the best ROI per hour side hustles because AI can now help with drafts, variations, research, structure, and editing speed. That does not replace a good writer. It increases the leverage of a good writer. If you can think clearly, understand the customer's fear, sharpen an offer, and write with rhythm, you can produce more value in 1 hour than a lot of physical gig work produces in 4. But here's the real problem. A lot of beginners enter copywriting backwards. They study headlines for 6 months, obsess over frameworks, and never actually solve a business problem. They market themselves as passionate copywriters instead of saying, "I'll rewrite your homepage so people understand what you do in 5 seconds." Or, "I'll build a 3-email follow-up sequence for leads who didn't book." That specificity changes everything. And this is where most people get it wrong. They chase prestige clients too early. Don't. Start with local service businesses, solo founders, creators, coaches, consultants, online stores with bad product pages, law firms with confusing websites, dental practices with weak follow-up. Anyone losing money because their communication is sloppy. Copywriting also has one of the best ladder effects of any side hustle. First, you write. Then you learn positioning. Then offers. Then funnels. Then retention. Eventually, you're not selling words, you're selling outcomes. Number 2 is short-form video editing and content repurposing. This one is exploding for one very simple reason. Attention has moved to video, but most business owners and creators do not want to spend their lives inside an editing timeline. Upwork's cost data for video editors lists a median hourly rate around $35, with many editors ranging from $10 to $60, and experts going from $60 to $150 or more. Fiverr's public guidance notes video editing pricing varies heavily by complexity, turnaround time, and revisions, which is the exact clue serious editors should notice. Complexity is not the money. Packaging is. Businesses and creators are drowning in raw footage. Podcasts, Zoom recordings, webinars, testimonials, vlogs, training clips, interviews, talking heads. They don't just need an editor. They need someone who can turn one long asset into 5 shorts, 3 hooks, subtitles, platform versions, and something that actually gets watched. That repurposing angle is where the hourly ROI jumps. If you sell yourself as a video editor, you compete with everyone. If you sell, I turn one podcast into 10 vertical clips with captions, hooks, and thumbnails, now you're selling a business asset. That moves you closer to recurring monthly retainers, which is where this becomes dangerous in a good way. Here's a modern reality check. Even Upwork's own page frames video editing as essential across YouTube, music videos, weddings, social content, and business media. That tells you the demand is not isolated to influencers. It's everywhere attention is monetized. The reason this doesn't take the number 1 slot is that editing has a real learning curve. You need taste, pacing, caption timing, hook instinct, sound awareness, file discipline, revision management. But if you can get competent, this is one of the rare side hustles that can scale from laptop work into a real agency or personal brand without changing industries. And now we hit number 1. Offer focused sales copy and simple revenue assets for small businesses. Not write whatever. Not be a marketing guru. I'm talking about the narrow, high ROI skill of improving the words and assets closest to money. Sales pages, service pages, lead magnets, follow-up emails, quote templates, offer rewrites, DM scripts, call booking pages, proposals, checkout recovery emails. Anything sitting one step away from a sale. This wins on ROI per hour because you are not being paid for time alone. You are being paid for reducing uncertainty around money. If a business owner believes your change can lift response rates, bookings, conversions, or close rate, your hour is suddenly worth more than the hour of someone doing generic production work. That's why sales copywriters often price above general copywriters. The work is closer to cash. But the deepest reason this takes the top spot is psychological. People do not buy labor at the highest price. They buy relief at the highest price. A restaurant owner feels relief when more people actually order. A consultant feels relief when more leads book calls. A contractor feels relief when quotes stop getting ignored. An online store owner feels relief when abandoned carts come back. A creator feels relief when viewers turn into buyers. If you can create that relief, even partially, your hourly ceiling rises dramatically. And this is where the strongest insight on the whole list shows up. The highest ROI side hustles are usually not the ones where you rent out your time. They're the ones where you remove a bottleneck. That bottleneck can be physical, like furniture assembly. It can be emotional, like tutoring. It can be operational, like bookkeeping. It can be attention-based, like video editing. Or it can be revenue-based, like sales copy. But once you understand bottlenecks, the side hustle game changes forever. You stop asking, what can I do for money? And start asking, what is already costing someone time, stress, or sales right now? And how fast can I remove it? That one shift is the difference between hustling endlessly and building leverage. Here's what history shows. Airbnb's origin story started because Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia were trying to cover rent and rented out air mattresses in their apartment. Whether you build something huge or not is irrelevant. The lesson is what matters. Financial pressure forces creativity, but the winning move is not random effort. It's noticing an unmet need in real time and packaging a solution before everyone else sees it. That is still how high ROI side hustles work today. So if you're trying to choose one, use this simple rule. If you need money this week, choose proximity and urgency. Sell things, walk dogs, assemble furniture, solve a local problem fast. If you need better long-term hourly leverage, choose a skill that sits near business pain. Bookkeeping cleanup, copy, editing, tutoring if your expertise is strong. Focus on work people repeat, refer, and resent doing themselves. And if you want the best blend of security and upside, do this in stages. First, get cash moving. Second, build a repeatable skill. Third, move closer to revenue. Fourth, stop charging like a tasker and start positioning like a problem solver. Because the goal is not to stay trapped in side hustle mode forever. The goal is to make yourself harder to financially corner, harder to panic, harder to break. One paycheck is fragile. One skill is fragile. One employer is fragile. But one main income plus one proven skill plus one repeatable offer? That starts to feel like stability. So if I had to give one final rule, it would be this. Don't choose the hustle that looks easiest on TikTok. Choose the one that removes the most pain in the shortest time with the least wasted motion. That's where the real hourly ROI lives. And if you're wondering which of these 8 fits your situation best, drop a comment with the one you'd actually start this week, or the one you think is overrated. I read those. And if you want more videos that cut through fake money advice and focus on what actually works when the economy gets tight, subscribe. Because in times like this, being informed is useful, but being prepared pays.